Long before electricity, iceboxes, or modern canning, humans had to find clever ways to preserve food. One of the most fascinating and effective methods was an ancient fungal trick that allowed meat, dairy, and vegetables to remain safe and edible for weeks or even months. This wasn't accidental. It was the result of careful observation, experimentation, and understanding of natural processes. The fungus acted as a living preservative, creating conditions that prevented spoilage while sometimes enhancing flavor. For anyone fascinated by survival, history, or off-grid living, this forgotten technique offers a blueprint for keeping food edible without modern technology. Why ancient cultures turned to fungi instead of relying solely on refrigeration? In times when ice and consistent cold storage were luxuries, spoilage could mean starvation. Certain fungi, however, produce natural antimicrobial compounds that inhibit harmful bacteria. Ancient people noticed that food exposed to specific molds or fungal cultures lasted far longer than unprotected food. Over generations, they learned to encourage the growth of beneficial fungi while discouraging harmful ones, effectively using nature as a preservative. Modern enthusiasts can, replicate this principle using controlled fermentation and mold cultures to extend the shelf life of cheeses, cured meats, and vegetables without electricity. How fungi formed a protective layer that blocked harmful microbes. The key to this method was the fungus itself. It formed a thin, dense layer over the surface of food, acting as a barrier against bacteria and other spoilage organisms. Cheese, for example, was often inoculated with certain molds that preserved the curds and allowed them to age safely, developing complex flavors in the process. Meats and vegetables were treated in a similar way, coated or stored with fungal cultures that slowed decomposition. Practically, this can be applied today by maintaining clean conditions, selecting known beneficial fungal cultures, and, controlling humidity so the protective layer forms correctly. Why fermentation worked hand in hand with fungal preservation is actually pretty fascinating. Fungal preservation rarely occurred in isolation. Beneficial fungi worked alongside natural fermentation processes to produce acids, alcohols, and other compounds that stabilized food. This dual system not only preserved food, but, it also improved its nutritional value and taste. Modern applications include sauerkraut, miso tempeh, and aged cheeses, all of which rely on a controlled environment where fungi and bacteria interact safely. Survivalists can use these same techniques to store vegetables, grains, and dairy products without relying on refrigeration. How ancient people applied fungal preservation in everyday life is, honestly, a testament to their ingenuity. Historical records indicate that this wasn't a niche practice. It was a necessity. Armies, traders, and households relied on fungal preservation to transport and store food safely. Meat was coated or stored in breathable containers that encouraged beneficial fungi while deterring spoilage. Vegetables might be buried in slightly damp, ventilated pits to encourage fungal growth. Dairy products were often wrapped in cloth or placed in wooden containers inoculated with protective molds. Today, the same approach can be replicated using clay pots, wooden boxes, breathable cloth, and carefully controlled humidity to mimic the conditions that ancient cultures perfected. Why controlling moisture and temperature was essential. Fungi thrive in specific conditions. Too much moisture could allow harmful molds to dominate. Too little, and the preservation process would fail. Ancient preservers mastered microclimates, storing their food in cellars, underground pits, or insulated rooms where temperature and humidity were just right. For modern practice, keeping food in cool, shaded, slightly humid environments like clay fermentation crocks or partially buried storage vessels helps emulate these ancestral methods and, greatly extends shelf life. Modern science, really does validate these ancient methods. Microbiological research confirms what ancient cultures discovered through experience. Certain fungi produce antimicrobial compounds that inhibit pathogens such as Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria. This, explains why fungal-coated or fermented foods could remain safe for such long periods. By understanding these natural preservative mechanisms, survivalists, historians, and food enthusiasts can safely use fungal techniques without refrigeration, and honestly, it helps reduce dependency on modern energy-intensive systems. So, how can you apply this ancient fungal method safely today? Well, modern enthusiasts can definitely start small. Cheese, cured sausages, and fermented vegetables are all excellent candidates. Just use known safe fungal cultures, maintain appropriate humidity, and of course monitor temperatures carefully. Allow the fungus to form a protective layer while keeping surfaces clean. In off-grid or survival scenarios, these methods can dramatically extend the shelf life of perishable foods. Step-by-step guides from historical recipes or fermentation manuals can help beginners safely replicate these ancestral techniques. Why learning this method is more than just historical curiosity. This fungal preservation technique demonstrates the resourcefulness of our ancestors and the power of working with natural processes rather than against them. It's not just history, it's practical survival knowledge. Mastering these methods connects us with generations of people who fed themselves safely without electricity and inspires modern solutions for sustainable, low-energy food storage. If you want to uncover more forgotten survival techniques, ancient ingenuity, and practical historical lessons, subscribe to Thermal Vault. Share this video with fellow enthusiasts and start exploring the timeless strategies that allowed humanity to keep food safe long before refrigerators existed.